Hey, it's Amy Shaw here. It is August 26, 2017. I am in the greater Austin, Texas area, and the outer bands of Hurricane Harvey are sitting above my house right about now. So once in a while it spits up some crazy wind, and definitely it's been some sporadic but torrential rainfall for about the past 18 hours. And they say we probably have another good 24 or more before it starts to dissipate. So I thought, what better time to make a video than while Hurricane Harvey is right above my head. Anyway, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, again, was the Mandela Effect, because I really have been thinking a lot lately about this idea of resonance and dissonance. And I know I've alluded to it and maybe even mentioned it in past videos about the Mandela Effect, but I don't think I've specifically made a video talking about dissonance and resonance in terms of the Mandela Effect. The reason that this is coming up for me, or that I've been thinking about it, is because, you know, from the very beginning of experiencing the Mandela Effect, I experienced it in the same way that I experience deja vu. And so I don't know how it is for other people. It's kind of why I want to put that out there and see how that experience is for you. But for me, when I experience deja vu, not only is it sort of this cognitive thing that happens in my mind where I'm like, oh, and it's very resonant. I have this sensation of familiarity. You know, this resonates, like I've been here before. There's something about it that feels very familiar. Like I've done this exact same thing before. This exact moment in time, I've experienced it before. But there's also a sensation in my body when that happens that I can't even really fully articulate it. It's almost like an emotion. You know, when you feel an emotion, you feel it in your body. You have certain thoughts around it in your mind, and, you know, you might have, you know, this whole little construct that's going on around the emotion. But if you just tune in to your body, you're having physical sensations. And so I would say that how I experience the deja vu is very similar. It's a physiological feeling in my body as much as it is a cognitive recognition of familiarity. And so how I know I'm experiencing the Mandela Effect is the same exact way. And I feel like it's distinct because certainly in my mind, I've thought things were true and then later find out it wasn't true. And that's just really an error. It's an error in cognition, and so you just sort of adjust. You kind of go, oh, okay, that's not what I thought that was, but okay, and you adjust and you move on. It's a very cognitive process. When the Mandela Effect happens, though, it's much more like the deja vu. There's this sort of weird aura that occurs around it, and then I feel it physiologically in my body. And so that's how I know. That's how I know if it's, for me, a Mandela Effect versus just me being misinformed about something that, you know, I later found, you know, got corrected evidence of. And so I'm wondering if anybody else has been able to discern that with the Mandela Effect. And I, again, wanted to talk about the difference between the resonance that happens when you have deja vu and the Mandela Effect actually almost being the complete opposite of that, because it creates sort of a dissonance. It's a feeling like things are not lined up, like this, you know, it's like the opposite. It's like a feeling of something's amiss, something's not right, something's off, something definitely, it's a dissonant sort of disconcerting feeling. And so when you think about it in terms of resonance and dissonance, I think that it adds a dimension to the Mandela Effect that's very, very interesting. And I haven't seen, now I don't sit around watching a lot of Mandela Effect videos. I don't sit around day in and day out thinking about, talking about living the Mandela Effect, but I definitely have experienced the Mandela Effect, and I have watched some videos. I do follow a couple people on YouTube who are very into the Mandela Effect, talk about the Mandela Effect, and I haven't really seen or heard anybody talking about this specifically, resonance and dissonance. So I think it's something to contribute to the conversation, and it's interesting. Before I close, I do want to just say, though, one of the very, very interesting Mandela effects of recent is the skull. People are talking about the foramen, or the holes in the skull. I took a year of anatomy and physiology, A&P 1 and 2, in 2010 at community college. It's a very, very rigorous class. I mean, I barely got through it. It was the only class I could take, at the time, because it was very, very academically rigorous, and it's hard. You have to know every single process, every single foramen, every single little bump, ridge, suture. I mean, in the bones, and that's just the bones, and then you get into the nerves, then you get into the veins and the arteries and the hearts and the chambers. I mean, it's exhaustive. And then the physiology, I mean, that's just mind-blowing. You have to know. It was really, really, really tough. The toughest classes I have ever taken in my life. And that was in 2010. So we're in 2017. So that was 7 years ago. And, I'm not working in the medical field. I'm not, I'm sitting here right now looking at my new Atlas of Human Anatomy over there across the room in that bookshelf. And so I still have all those books. I kept meaning to pull out my A&P book from when I was in school to see if the skull shows the foramen in the jaw, the mandible, and then here, in the cheekbones, because I sure as heck do not remember that. I do not remember that. And we had to know that skull. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, it was 7 years ago. Is it possible that I forgot? It's possible, but not likely. I maybe forget the names of certain things, or, which sides certain things, fall on. Was it the larger bone on the outside or the inside? Things like that. But holes like foramen in the skull, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't forget that. And so they're saying that we've always had these, and that they are used for innervations of major veins and nerves. Which, if you really stop and think about it logically, to me, that doesn't make sense. Because why would you have veins that major and nerves that major innervating externally from, the soft tissue into the skull? That surface, at that surface of a level. I mean, those are major, structures. And typically the body, structures of that magnitude are buried much deeper in the body, where they're much more well protected. They're not that surface. So logically, it doesn't even really make sense to me that you would have nerves of that magnitude or veins of that magnitude that close to the surface in the skull, that would, require a hole of that size to go through the bony structures. To me, logically, it doesn't make sense. So my daughter, she graduated from UCLA School of Nursing in 2014. And I certainly don't want to throw her under the bus and make it seem like she was a bad student or anything like that. But let me just say that UCLA is a very, very reputable school, very reputable. And, their medical school in particular, their nursing school, anything to do with medical at UCLA is one of the best in the country. I mean, it's, it was a very academically rigorous program. She took anatomy and physiology just as I had, but at UCLA, and in 2014. So that was really only 3 years ago that she graduated from there. And I found a picture on the internet, supposedly, from Gray's Anatomy, which is a very old anatomy illustration book, of the skull showing the foramen. Also, the jaw looks really weird to me. The structures look bizarre to me. I don't remember it being like that at all. But anyway, I showed her, I sent her the picture from Grey's Anatomy, and I asked her, do you remember these foramen in the skull? And she right away, she knew what they were for. She said, oh, that must be where the veins and the nerves come in. But she did not remember the foramen either. So that is very, very bizarre. It's just bizarre to me. And then I was thinking, well, how do we know that these really exist? They could just be popping up in, you know, the textbooks on, you know, Google is pretty good at manipulating stuff, let's be honest. So maybe, you know, people are just drawing new illustrations with these foramen in there, and actually anatomically they're not there. But if you look and you Google, they actually show pictures of human skulls, some of them quite old, that have these foramen in them. So I cannot explain this. I can't explain it. It's just quite simply, for me, a Mandela effect. And, you know, equally for my daughter, you know, who, you know, went to a very good school, and much more recently than I has taken anatomy and physiology at that school, and she also does not remember the foramen. So I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I cannot explain that. I really cannot explain that. But anyways, that's all I wanted to contribute to the Mandela Effect discussion, and thank you as always for watching. Feel free to leave comments and questions below. Please keep them positive and polite. And I love you guys so much. Have a great day.